You mentioned that FDA letter. So I don't remember the exact month. I feel like it was, I think it was March or maybe it was April. And for those of you who don't know, we're located in Ohio, and Ohio was one of the first states to lock down after the pandemic started. And so it was very present on all of our minds. And we started digging into COVID-19, and obviously it was a new thing. Nobody really knew exactly what the ramifications of it were. But as I mentioned earlier, it's part of the coronavirus family, and SARS and SARS-2. There was tons and tons of studies done in China about both of those, although very little in the U.S. and in Europe because it didn't really affect our populations too much. And what those studies showed was that diet definitely affected it, like what your BMI is, what your age is, and key vitamins and minerals, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, and vitamin A. And so all we did was we posted links to those studies and said basically to the effect of, we don't know if this is going to work for COVID-19 specifically or not, but in the absence of the no information that you're getting from the CDC right now, this might be a good thing to do. And your worst case scenario is you're getting vitamins that are good for you anyway,
Right.
right? It's not like things like ivermectin where there's actually downsides to those kind of things. And so all we did was we published some of the studies, and we had links to it, and we basically said, hey, these are good things to look into it. And we got letters from the FDA and the FTC both, basically telling us if we didn't take that stuff down, they were coming after us. And we weren't the only ones. There was a couple thousand kind of companies and different influencers. And if I remember right, I believe it's called Operation Quack Hack, if you want to look it up. There's some details about who they targeted and why they targeted them, that sort of thing. But basically the idea was that the CDC wanted to control the messaging around what was happening. And people like us were, to a certain extent, making them look foolish because they were saying, we don't know what to do. And then you've got all these random people that are saying, well, here's a solution. And obviously, we've seen the ramification of that manifest over the last 2 years, which is people trust the CDC a lot less than they did 2 or 3 years ago. And as a study of history, I will never understand why people feel like they have to do this. It's the government response tends to be things like during the Cold War, they would tell kids to hide under their desk if their nuclear bomb was going to go off. Like you think somehow that's going to make some difference. You either placate people by giving them something that's so ridiculous that it's never going to happen. They did the same thing during Desert Storm. They said you could duct tape the seals of your windows if biological weapons were launched in the U.S., and that somehow that's going to stop the air from getting in your house. And so they'll do stuff like that. It makes no sense. And then other times there will be obvious answers. And they could have just said like, hey, we're working on a vaccine. Hey, we're working on studies for these things. But in the meantime, here's some stuff that we know will work. If you're old, you probably want to isolate and stay away from people because you're going to be more at risk. And until we know for sure what those risks are, take steps to protect yourself. But instead, they kind of went, I don't know what's going on. I guess everybody should just stay inside. And kind of to your point, the unintended consequences are domestic violence went way up, murder and death went way up, people dying in car accidents went way up. There's mental health got significantly worse, and it was not in a great place before the pandemic. And just in general, people's well-being decreased because when you're depressed, you're more susceptible to illness too. And so we're taking everybody and we're saying not only isolate from your friends and family, but isolate from the people that live in your house. I have multiple friends that I know where the husband and wife lived in different rooms for 6 months because they didn't want to risk infecting each other. Like one of them was helping the kids and the other one was going to the office, and they're like, we can't cross-pollinate these pools of risk. And it's just like, that is such a crazy response to this. And I don't know what the answer to this stuff is other than don't have 70 or 80-year-old people be the head of the CDC.